How's it going, everybody? It's Alex, and well, this week was tragic. Let's try and talk about it. I'm kind of at a point where this is just getting stale by the time we get to April, and the Hawks are so out of it. It is just really hard to keep up with this team late in the season because they're just terrible, and we continue to have to tell ourselves, just look at what the young guys can do. Just look at what the young guys can do, but the young guys have not developed, and that is the biggest problem. I'm hoping that next year is the year they can probably start playing as a respectable team, not even a good team, just a team that you can look at and be like, yeah, that's a team that's been together all season. This lineup has been so mangled and switched, and it just they can't find a set structure. They bring Anton Frondell in, and he gets placed immediately on the top line. I think that says a lot about the weakness of the rest of this team. If we're talking about a guy who hasn't played an NHL game, was drafted third overall, and is going to start on the top line immediately. And it says two things. The top line isn't working, and B, there's no one on the team that already exists that is going to fit better than the new guy. And I think that says a lot about this Hawks team. And they get punched in the mouth on the road against the Philadelphia Flyers. Two dumb mistakes early on in this game. Both, frankly, at the fault of Artem Levshunov, the second overall pick last season for the Blackhawks. It's a real shame. He has not been that great this season. There's still a lot of room of development for this guy, and he's getting major minutes on this team. And you can tell that he's still got a lot of work to do, because that first goal that they let up, that is on Levshunov. Like, Knight was the one who turned the puck over, but he was going to give it to Levshunov, and he was not ready for it. And he was not ready for someone on the other team to come in and steal that puck for an easy goal. And Levshunov just doesn't really have a good play either that leads to the second goal. It's just the defense for this team continues to stink. It's really unfortunate. And this is the entire unit. Vlasic, Levshunov, Kaiser, Crevier, Del Mastro, whoever else was on the lineup in that game, probably was Grzelcyk. It's not working. And the frustrating part, again, is there are a lot of guys that are incredibly young, and you just got to give them time. But when you have been in this position for 3 or 4 years now, where every time you're in March or in April, you're just like, well, I'm hoping the young guys can do well. And instead of it being one or two guys that kind of weed their way in at the end of the season, like we had with Frank Nazar a couple of years ago, he played a couple games. But now it's the entire team is young. The entire team has room to grow. It's just you get to a point where you're just sick and tired of getting to this point in the season where you just stink. Well, there is one positive. Anton Frondell looks like he's going to be ahead of some of these other guys pretty early. The backhand pass to Bedard for the Hawks' lone goal was pretty nice. I would love to see those two continue to play well as things continue to progress. I do foresee Bedard and Frondell playing on the top line together. I don't know if it's going to be Ryan Green who's going to be up there with him next year. It could be someone else they acquire in free agency. It could be someone else on that very team. We'll see what happens. But at least Frondell, at this point, 2 games into his NHL career, he's got 2 assists. So good for Frondell. You want to see that more so than, here's one nice play from this player every 3 or 4 games. I'm not going to lie, there is really not much to take away from this game against the Flyers. They got walked all over, couldn't generate anything, and Spencer Knight was left out to dry by that terrible defense. I mean, you look at some of the goals that the Flyers scored, it was because a bad turnover or some sort of breakaway, some sort of lapse defensively allows a Flyer to get a good look at Spencer Knight or a tip-in past Knight. Knight's got to make a couple good saves, and he did make a couple good saves in this game. But, you're going to want a couple saves from Spencer Knight to keep some of those goals out as he gets older, but you gotta prevent some of these high-danger chances, guys. I mean, seriously, you gotta protect your goaltender at some point. It literally got worse as the Blackhawks go back up to New York to go face the Rangers at Madison Square Garden, a building which the Rangers have stunk in this year. They have been terrible in their own home building this year. It's really sad because the Hawks just gave them their probably most complete game at home all season long. The Hawks played the better team for the majority of the first period. They even get a goal late in the first from Nick Lardis on a dirty play. He's on out at the side of the goal, able to tap it in. That's number 8 for Lardis. Good for him. Literally, they were outplayed the second that Lardis scored that goal. They go up 1-0, everything falls apart, and they stink. For the rest of the game. They can't even get out of the first period with a lead. They go in with a tie, and then all of a sudden, it's 4-1 by the end of the second, and they allow 2 late ones to make it 6-1. Like, just get completely embarrassed in New York. They let Adam Sikora get his first NHL goal, which was a nice one. Nice pass in front, right in the goal scorer's perfect spot, right in the slot. Beat Soderblom on the blocker side. Seriously, this was a sad performance. I mean, there's literally nothing to say about this one that I haven't already said before, at least 5 times throughout the rest of this season. And even earlier in this video, there's nothing I can add. So the Hawks have to travel south of the Hudson to wrap up this 4-game road trip out east to take on the Devils. And oh my God, they scored a goal. Guys, they scored a goal. And they've scored first this season before. They scored first in the last game against the Rangers. But they scored a goal in the first, 3 minutes. Guys, they attacked. They jumped and had a good start. Oh my goodness. And it's a bit of luck. It's one of the easiest goals the Hawks will score all year long. And Jake Allen screws the pooch on it. He tries to stop the puck and just completely misplaces it. Anton Frondell, smart, takes advantage of it right in front to Ilya Mikheyev. Hawks go up 1-0. And so the Hawks actually had a pretty strong start. It wasn't just the lucky goal. They actually played well for the first 5-6 minutes here in this one. And they let a tip go in by Knight. Tie game, of course, as the Devils continue to play well and then fight back and regain momentum to the point where they're kind of evening up the shot counter. And, the Hawks let up the tying goal. And then late in the first, or at least a little bit, or about 7 minutes left, Donato has it behind the net. New Jersey's defense apparently forgets about Frank Nazar, who kind of goes to the backside, but still not necessarily back door, but goes to the backside. Donato with a nice pass to him, and he puts it in behind Allen, and the Hawks go up 2-0. So I like to see the smart play from Nazar. A couple of nice plays from the young guys in this one that are actually turning into goals and not just good chances. It's starting to get a little bit better. And then the Devils have complete momentum from here on out. Spencer Knight makes an unbelievable save on Timo Meier early in the second period. The teams keep playing. Spencer Knight has to do more great stuff to keep this team in front. Under 5 minutes to go, they finally concede as I don't know what's going on, how Simon Nemec gets that wide open that close for a defenseman. But the puck around the side of the net squirts free, rolls back to Nemec right by Knight. He burns the Hawks again after he had a hat trick the first time the team has played. And we're tied at 2. And so, okay. Got to go into the third in a tie game. They're not getting blown out. So they're even at 2. At the end of 2. It's a close game. A nice change of pace after the last 2 games that they had against the Flyers and Rangers, where they got absolutely, boat raced. About halfway through, Hawks get onto a 5-on-3 power play. Get a couple nice good chances. As that 5-on-3 power play is dwindling away, it's Connor Bedard, who's in the center of the whole formation, over to the left wing side, where Frank Nazar snipes his second goal of the game by Jake Allen in a wide open cage. They completely caught the goaltender out of position. Nazar pots it. Hawks go up 3-2. They scored a big goal in a tie game in the third period. They just have not been doing that all season long, and that is something that they got to work on a lot going forward if they really want to try and contend for anything next year. And then, but you know what this means now. The Hawks have to defend a lead in the third period. Doesn't go well. Dougie Hamilton pops free on an odd, not necessarily an odd man rush, but on a rush for the Devils. Dougie Hamilton pops free, gets into the right wing circle. It's by night. The game's tied. A minute later, Jack Hughes steamrolls Alex Vlasic. He just blows right by him. He's pretty much got a breakaway on Spencer Knight. It's Jack Hughes. He scores. The Devils take the lead, and he scores that goal. You know the game's over. You know it's over. Hell, the Devils actually should have had 6 goals in this game because there was one that got called back because it didn't fully cross the line. They had beaten Spencer Knight for goal number 5. Got called back, and then they scored an empty netter. So they scored 5 goals, but yeah, it should have been 5 goals on the goaltender instead of 4. But yeah, they folded in the final 10 minutes of the game after taking the lead. They lose again in regulation. Good Lord, man. That was a tough way to end that one. So that ends a road trip against Eastern Conference teams. And the Eastern Conference has been much stronger than the Western Conference this season. That is pretty common knowledge if you've been following the NHL at all this season. I mean, just look at the Pacific Division. It's just the entire thing has not been very good this year. But now the Hawks get to play at home again. And they're playing the Winnipeg Jets. And the Jets are not nearly as bad as the last time this team saw them. I mean, the game that these teams played last time around was completely different stakes. The Jets were pretty much playing for their season in that game. And now the Jets are right back into the playoff picture because the Western Conference has been, again, pretty weak. That second wild card spot is wide open, and now the Jets are right back in the fray. Now the Hawks have to play a divisional opponent who has now all of a sudden a surge going into April. What do they got? It would take just about 5 minutes, but in his first NHL game at home, Anton Frondell gets his first NHL goal as the puck finds its way off a scrum on the side of the net out into the slot. Frondell races in, gets a beautiful look on Connor Hellebuck. He beats him, and the Hawks go up 1-0. And I'm very happy to see Frondell get back on the scoreboard there. He's had a nice start. Like, if there's one positive to take away from what has been an otherwise terrible week for Blackhawks hockey, Anton Frondell, he's looking pretty promising. The Hawks take a 1-0 lead in the second period, but it's literally about a minute into the second period where Josh Morrissey decides, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and skate it through everybody, by the way. He goes off on the left wing side, curls around the goal line, skates across the crease, backhands it behind Spencer Knight, all while in the process, there's literally all 5 guys right there. How does no one pick him up? And the funniest part is neither the 2 defenders are on the right side of the ice for this play. It's just embarrassing. There's a cool moment like Frondell scoring or something else happening. A nice goal from Lardis or Nazar or pick any other prospect. And it's just surrounded by these awful plays. These awful lapses, these terrible moments. And it just sours the mood every time. A handful of minutes later, Josh Morrissey has a nice pass across to Cole Perfetti, and he puts it right on the money. Would have tucked in that lower right corner. But Spencer Knight's able to get a skate blade on it and force it wide. About 5 minutes after that, as the Jets are on a power play, they try it again. Only this time it's Alex Iafallo instead of Cole Perfetti, and he doesn't miss. The Winnipeg Jets lead 2-1. Because they were so close the first time, hey, why not try it again? Perfetti doesn't miss this time around, and Hawks losing again. And I mean, literally a minute later, what is this defensive lapse? Why are the Jets allowed to just backhand the puck from behind the net into the slot and have someone be right there? Just like, and not just like standing there waiting for a pass. I mean, literally just sits in the slot, and the goal scorer, Rosen, races in and is able to put it by night. How in the world can no Hawks defender or even just skater get a stick on it or get in front of it? That is pathetic. You got to cover the slot. Like, I know that no one is standing there right now, but like you got... It's just unbelievable how pathetic the Hawks defense hasn't just been this year, has been for the last like half decade. Pretty much ever since Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook left or regressed, this defensive core has just stunk. And it's not like this, we've seen this replicated with the offensive lines. Like, you could tell, like, even when Kane and Taves were declining, there were a couple nice moments and a couple nice players coming up. And then you get Bedard. Now you get some of these other guys that can make some nice plays. Where is the defensive star? Where are they? Because it's not Levshinov. Because Vlasic is probably the best defender this team has, and he's still not that good. Like, it is just pitiful how bad this defense is. Well, it does get better, actually. It doesn't actually get worse this time around, as just shortly after they let up the third goal, the Hawks force a turnover in their offensive zone as the Jets are trying to start a rush. It's Bertuzzi and Mikheyev who are combining to make this play. Mikheyev shoves over a defender to allow the puck to get to Tyler Bertuzzi, who then decides, hey, you know what? Now is the time for a highlight. Backhand spinorama, and by Hellebuck, as he's falling down as he releases the puck, that puck's in the back of the net when he's sliding on the ice on his chest. What a goal. That's one of the best goals of the season for the Chicago Blackhawks. Go ahead, take a bow, Tyler Bertuzzi. That's his 30th of the year, too. He's had a shockingly good season. Productive might be a little bit of a better term because I don't think he's been like one of the best skaters all year long. He's definitely benefited from being a high danger chance type of guy, but you need those types of guys. He's definitely like the veteran on the team that has had the biggest impact on this squad purely from a scoring perspective. Because Mikheyev has had a couple moments. Foligno, even though he did basically nothing on the ice, has been important for this team the last couple of years with being the captain and everything. But Bertuzzi's been the best one on the ice. So they go to the third, down one goal. Another situation where the Hawks have not been good at, trailing going into the third period. But this time, they're able to tie it up about halfway through the third. After some good chances from the Hawks earlier, Crevier at the point circles it around the boards. Mikheyev behind the net. Pretty much a one-touch pass right in front where Bertuzzi, who has been doing this a lot this year, standing right in front of the crease instead of the back door this time around. He puts it through by Hellebuck for his second of the game and 31st of the season. Hawks tie this one up at 3, and we got overtime. Kyle Connor scores about a half minute into overtime. The Jets pick up the big 2 points. Hawks get a loser point. They finish 1-1-2 against the Jets this season. Look, this is another L on the calendar. I know. It's very brutal. It's another loser point that this team's going to get. They've had a lot of those this year. A lot of those. They have played awful in the extra frame. Played terribly all year long. Here's the difference with this game. They had to stage a 2-goal comeback. Over half a game, yes, but they were down 2 goals and tied the game to get it to overtime. It wasn't a game that went to overtime where they were holding on to a 2-goal lead and let that slip away. They had to come back and tie it this time around as opposed to it being forced upon them. They forced overtime, which is something they haven't done a lot this season. So at least there's that, but at the same time, it's still another loss. It's still another loss, and it's still frustrating. They still just can't find ways to win hockey games. Because even when they have come back in some of these games and staged comebacks to force overtime, you go back to that last game against Dallas, where they scored their first empty goal with the goalie pulled all season. Still lost that game in overtime. If they had gotten the 2 points in that one, that would have been much more satisfying. Same thing goes here. And if they had finished the comeback, that would have been great, but they don't, so you still kind of feel not good about it at all. This was the only home game that the Hawks were going to play for like 3 weeks because they just had a 4-game road trip against Eastern Coast teams. They now head out west to take on Edmonton, Seattle, and San Jose next week before wrapping up the season on a 4-game homestand. I don't know. If there is anything positive, there is a good thing. There's only 2 weeks left. There's only 2 weeks left in this season, and it's over. And then we can watch real teams play hockey in the playoffs, which is not where the Hawks belong. Anton Frondell scores 5 points in his first 5 NHL games. That's good. Pretty much everything else about this hockey team right now is not good. I'm just so ready for this season to be over. Anyways, that's it. Hit a like button if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you really liked it and want to see more videos from me. Keep the conversation going in the comment section below. What do you think about Anton Frondell? Let's have that be the topic of conversation. Let's try to be a little bit positive in the late stages of yet another lost season. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.